this video, you'll learn about how wheat plants grow. Wheat farming in Pakistan and around the world can benefit from the information offered here, with a few minor differences. We'll cover wheat produced for both grain and forage production. For forage production, farmers must plant earlier and with higher seed rates in order to get more forage out of their wheat crop than they would with wheat planted just for grain production. So, let's watch how the wheat plant grows.
In this lesson, we're going to look at the stages of seed germination. First, we'll look at a wheat seed, which has two important parts called endosperm and embryo. Then, we'll look really close at the very tip of the seed. We can only see a small bump, which represents the embryo or seedling inside the seed. The embryo, as shown in this diagram, contains a miniature wheat seedling that includes the coleoptile, several leaves, the shoot apex, the radicle, and the root cap. If we look at our entire wheat seed diagram, we can see that each of these parts in the embryo is so small that we generally believe the seed only contains the embryo and the endosperm. Then and after soaking the seeds in water for about 12 hours, you'll notice that they've swelled considerably, and if you look closely, you'll notice that the embryo has just begun to break through the surface of the seed coat, indicating that the embryo has typically begun to grow within 12 hours if not by 18 hours. As the seed begins to germinate, the radicle emerges first. The radicle is a part of the root that usually goes straight down, and soon after it emerges, two lateral branches off the radicle are adventitious roots that are still part of the primary root system, and later on the coleoptile will begin to grow, and within this coleoptile is the first young leaf. It is also still in its early stages. The coleoptile is a protective covering that shields the plant's new leaves as it grows up through the soil until it reaches the soil surface. When the coleoptile reaches the soil surface, it stops growing and the first leaf emerges from the coleoptile's tip. The maximum length to which the coleoptile will develop has lately been discovered to decrease when soil temperature rises. For example, we can see that the seeds for these plants in the picture were sowed around 3 inches down in the soil, but the coleoptile was still able to break through the soil surface. This wheat was planted in soil when temperature was 25 degrees Celsius or cooler, while in another example is wheat planted in soil when temperature was 35 degrees Celsius. Despite being planted around 1.5 inches deep, the coleoptile only grew to 3/4 of an inch and never reached the soil surface. When this occurs, the first leaf emerges from the coleoptile while it is still below the soil surface. Most of the time, this leaf will not reach the soil surface, especially if it has been